Hi guys, today we're gonna record another session. Currently playing NL100 cash game on Winamax Euro poker site, and this will be a play and explain vid. In case you have not watched the first vid I recorded last month, please do so. I think we're gonna, well, top right 100% check back on the turn. We're gonna discuss GTO a lot. I'm playing without a head and mostly trying to play GTO where it's a call. 25% of the time I would say. I have a RNG on the other screen, and I also have the lobby on the other screen and looking for more action, but there's not much. 6 queen 10 I can check, let's say 0.5% of the time, a little bit less. I could also check raise, and on the turn mostly a bet big. Could check sometimes, but mostly bet big. We might get shot in my overcard. So yeah, what I was saying is, well, first of all, of course, if you like this kind of video, please give it a like, give it a follow, and leave a comment on the YouTube page below, and just let me know what kind of content you'd like to watch. Top left, I don't buy. I'd like to buy in a little bit less than 100 BB when I feel like the table might break at the beginning, so that the opponents may think that I'm a recreational player, and yeah, so that they don't leave when they realize that there are many regs on the table, and I'm gonna buy in with 100 BB in a few minutes. It may sound stupid, but it works pretty well. We're playing anonymous tables, by the way, so they can't know who I am, and I don't know who I'm playing against either. As I said, I'm playing without a head. This is why I like to play anonymous tables, mostly to train my GTO skills. So yeah, first rule, if you like the content, give a like, give a follow, leave a message, and yeah, this will help me know. This will allow me to know what kind of content you'd like to watch. Just found table number 4, and second rule is that I'm gonna try to give a strong advice in each video. This falls, it would be mostly a check back, but I rolled a high number. This ace queen bottom right, it's 100% for bet. At these low stakes, for me under 100 BB it's low stakes, and then 100 euros cash games and below are low stakes, and 200 euros or $200 and above starts mid stakes, high stakes. Well, of course, we can argue that 100 euro tables are already mid stakes, but I'm using the low stakes preflop GTO ranges until 100 BB most of the time, and playing. Sorry, I meant 100 euros. Maybe you got it. And from 200 euros and above, I mostly think in terms of GTO ranges, high stakes GTO ranges, which are slightly different with more calls because of the rake, of the capped rake. So yeah, the second rule I'm gonna use for these videos is about giving a strong advice in each video, and by a strong advice I mean that if you only had to remember one thing from the video, it would be this strong advice, the key point you want to know. So I'm gonna wait a few minutes. I don't know exactly how long this video is gonna last, but I'm gonna wait a few minutes to see if a remarkable thing or situation occurs, and if not, I have an idea about last video. The last video, you may watch it. There are several interesting points, several interesting situations. This Jack 9 top right, well, we have a strong range advantage on this board. We have all top sets, all two pairs. Well, I mean all sets, top sets of course, but two pairs. But we can't bet all the time, so here I would bet 50% of the time on the flop and still 50% of the time on this turn. For those who don't know what RNG is, it's like it can be a software, or you can even find RNG in Google. Just Google random number generator from 0 to 100, for example, and you've got the perfect RNG in Google. It gives you a random number, and it helps you playing with your frequencies in the GTO frequencies. Well, now that it's been checked, top right, it's 100% still on the river. The sixes I could fold sometimes. I would say like one time out of three. Once out of 3 times. On this board is really not good for. It's good for range, but this hand precisely is mostly a check. If I bet, it's a small sizing. If villain bets small, but like very small, 1/3 of the pot, I might call sometime. Bigger than this, it's mostly a fold. It's not a board where we are supposed to bet big. None of us. 50% bet size, 50% of the pot. It's too big to call. I have the 6 of clubs, and we may think it's a good point to call, but the bet size is too big. And by the way, I don't think you should bet that big. We have ace king, we have full houses, we have some trips. So yeah, as I said, I will record a video soon about RNGs, how they work. For example, sometimes I use online RNGs and sometimes I use in Excel. I made one. I built my own RNG. Ace Queen, top left, it's a 100% 4-bet. I mean, it's a 4-bet 100% of the time. All the time it's a 4-bet. 4-bet pot on this board texture, I would check like 30% of the time, 25% of the time. Well, 1/3, and I think it's free sizing once you decide to bet. I've got 2 overs plus backdoors, backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. So here I decided to bet big, and if you raise, it's gonna be a call because I bet 75% of the pot, and if he calls, we are in. Queens top right, 4-bet 100% of the time. Obviously, when I had ace queen suited, as I said, once you decide to bet in such a, well, on this board with ace queen suited, you can select whatever sizing you like. This stance, it will be a 3-bet always against cutoff, and here I can check, and if I bet small. Let's bet small because I don't have the 10 of clubs, so I would rather check call with the 10 of clubs. And what was I saying with this ace queen suited? Yeah, once you decide to bet, it's free sizing. If you bet small and the other one raises, it's obviously a fold, but once you've decided to commit, I would bet 75% of the pot as I did, like, I don't know, 20% of the time, a little bit less maybe. I rolled a high number, so for me, when I use a RNG, the high number means aggression, and the low numbers means playing more passive. Top left table, I'm obliged to bet on this board texture. My hand wants to bet. We've got top pair, but very weak kicker. And top right, I decided to check back. Having an open-ended straight draw, I can call very often on the turn. I can bet or check top left. Decided to check and going to call most of his bets on the river. This one for sure. Yeah, queen jack of suit. It's a bit loose, I think, from him. I don't know if he called this combo 100% of the time, but maybe too much. And yeah, top right, so I called with my open-ended straight draw on the turn. Sometimes I'm ahead on the turn, sometimes he's got a pair or something, gonna bet big. Not sure big is the side there, but yeah. There are many busted flush draws, so plus I have 6 of diamonds, which makes it more I mean, I could have another diamond and indeed have a flush draw. Not sure this is really understandable as an explanation, but yeah, the idea is that there were many flush draws, and it's good to value bet big, as if I was trying to steal the boat. Okay, given that there were many interesting spots, but not a very key spot, but we've just seen a 4-bet, so yeah, the strong advice of the day will be regarding 4-bets. And look, once again, this is going to be a 4-bet pot right now, top left with aces. Last time in the last video we played a 4-bet pot in position, and I started mentioning something I really want you to understand, and this is going to be the strong advice of the day. When you look at GTO ranges, the ones calculated for low stakes and also the ones calculated for high stakes, there is a calling range out of position versus 4-bets. I'm gonna check back this top pair, bottom left, just for pot control. Obviously a call on the turn, maybe a value bet on the river if he checks. So yeah, GTO ranges, there's a calling range against 4-bets when you're out of position in many spots. Okay, he had a better top pair, but guys, you must know that it's much better. I mean, I see so many people playing poorly post-flop when they play a 4-bet pot out of position. So it's much better to play a good shove or fold strategy against when you're out of position against 4-bet. And I'm only talking about 100 BB plays. Of course, you won't shove 200 BBs, but if you play 100 BB deep, you'd better play a shove or fold strategy with good ranges. I mean, ranges you've worked on, you have studied, and you know perfectly, than trying to play poorly a good GTO strategy where maybe you will I'm gonna call with this 7-4 and flop a small flush draw, cause maybe you're gonna remember correctly the ranges pre-flop, but most of the time people play really bad out of position post flop. So yeah, this is the strong advice. You will lose in theory, you will lose a little bit of EV if you have no calling ranges in these 4-bet situations, but in practice you will lose much more EV if you play poorly post flop. So yeah, study your 4-bet situations, and yeah, I won't bluff this, won't turn my pair of 4s into a bluff, and will fold my pair of fours, top left. Could have 3-bet this ace-4 offsuit I've just played. Top left, could have 3-bet it before the pre-flop, I mean. So yeah guys, study your ranges versus 4-bet and don't just apply blindly the GTO ranges in 4-bet spots if you don't know how to play on the later streets. This is my good advice of the day. Once again, you can leave a comment, your thoughts about this concept and the other ones I discuss in these videos. Oh, by the way, well, a few people contacted me for coaching, and I'm not available for coaching at the moment. I don't record these videos to sell anything, and I don't sell coaching at the moment. I'm way too busy. So yeah, I'm sorry, but I can't coach anyone right now. And I try to answer most of the messages I get from you guys, but it's much more practical for me if you leave a message in the public area on the YouTube, in the YouTube comments, for example, or the Instagram, my Instagram profile. The private messages, top left, I can check and I can bet. If I bet, I would bet big like overbet. Let's go. We might get shot. I would check like 30% of the time or 25% of the time, something like this. So yeah, I prefer that you leave a public message and we can discuss it all together. I've read interesting comments on other videos, so it's good to open this kind of talks. One bluff is 10-9. I really have nothing at all, so I'd rather semi-bluff. And now I can value bet thin. Well, I can value bet, it's not that thin. Well, it would be often a call in GTO world, but here his raise is too big and it would be most of the time a losing call. This guy opens 5 BB, I don't know who he is. I think he's a recreational player. Bottom right. Bottom left, it's mostly a call, but I ran a very low number and no. Let's respect GTO, roll the low number, fold. Obviously, I don't always do just what my random number generator tells me to do. Sometimes you've got to deviate from GTO based on your reads. But for example, if let's see how we deviate. Let's say you're playing a spot where you should call 50% of the time and fold 50% of the time. but the guy who bets, you know him, you've got to read, and you know he's pretty tight. He doesn't bluff much. So in this case, I think, okay, this guy bluffs much less than the pool, and probably much less than the GTO player, the GTO softwares. So I have to fold more, and then in my mind I calculate, okay, it's supposed to be a 50% fold and 50% call, but because of this I'm gonna call just 20% of the time, for example, and fold 80% of the time because this guy is way too tight and doesn't bluff enough. So I don't need to bluff catch him too often. Here we're gonna bluff with this 10 high just so that we don't need to bet big. We want him to fold his ace high, his queen high. He will call most of his pairs, even a pair of sixes. So yeah, this is how you deviate, but the RNG is still needed, because if you know you just want to call 20% of the time, you need your RNG to give you a random number. If it's in the 20% range for calling, then you call. If the number, so for example, in my examples, I said the higher numbers are the most aggressive actions. So the RNG should give me a number higher than 80, given that every numbers it gives me are between 0 and 100. So if the RNG sends a random number higher than 80, then I would call. If he gives me 80 or less, then I would fold. This is how it works. This is obviously not cheating, by the way. The beginners sometimes think that, oh my god, he's using software. No, it's just there are poker players who said that they used their clock as a RNG, and it's really possible as well. I used to do that when I play in a casino here. I'm gonna check raise with my flush draw. I've got 1 hour flush draw, many backdoors, many turn cards can increase my equity. Even non-diamonds like this 8, for example, gives me a gut shot, and maybe you would call with a pair of sixes on the flop versus my check raise, but here it's gonna be harder for him to call. This deuce on the river is the worst card. It's the absolute worst card. I mean, I could have a set of deuces. I could have check raise with 2 pair, 3 deuce. So if I bet, it's all in, and there are many calling stations in this pool. So I will fold. I will check and check fold, obviously. Not sure this session will last a very long time. We've ISO raised with this ace-6 of hearts, bottom right, and check back twice on the flop and the turn. The other player is a fish, and I want him to do something nuts. Okay. I thought he would have done something like this on the turn, maybe. I mean, I thought he might have bet with his get shots or bluffs like King 10 or whatever. After he sees me checking back the flop. And also, there are many guys who limp call from the middle position, which was his position in this hand. Many guys who limp call hands like ace 9 off, ace 10 off, even sometimes ace jack off. Top left, the price was too expensive with my open-ended straight draw, plus there were reverse implied odds because there were two flush draws, so I could hit my straight on the river, but the river card could complete a flush as well, and it might result in a very expensive situation. So when my opponent overbets the turn, I just don't want to call with my opponent straight draw. Okay, the guy shoved like 140 BBs with 6-4 suited versus a cold 4-bet on the bottom right. That's great. These two spots I can bet or check. I'm gonna check both. Obviously, to check call or check raise would have been check call top right, and might be check raise top left, but here I can bet. If I bet, I can bet big. I'm gonna go for the check raise in case he bets. I have top right, it's also check call on the turn. Top bottom left, I have many two pair hands, many sets, so I can rep big. Okay, let's check call with my eights. Okay, let's bluff. Let's bluff. Don't need to bluff big. I just want him to fold his queen eye, king eye, his king queen, his ace 5. Okay, just calls with his full house. Bottom right, we don't like this spot. We just don't like this spot, but we have the ace of spades. We have the 9 of spades, and this removes many flush. This deuce of spades is not great because, okay, we've got the flush now. Yeah, and I roll a high number in the RNG, so I need to call, but I don't like this because he's gonna bluff very often with the king of spades or the 10 of spades on the turn. Yeah, the king of spades. But I rolled 98, so I just can't fold. For sure. I could have even thought about raising as a bluff. I didn't think about it because I really didn't like the spot, but this could have been a good spot for check raising as a bluff. But yeah, and in this pool, it's not the kind of pool you want to over bluff at all. It's more the kind of pool you want to under bluff, and yeah, this is another way to deviate from the GTO. When you know people call you too much, so you don't need to bluff as often as you would in the GTO world. And yeah, my call on the turn with this S9, and you need to understand that you don't call because you've got the 9 of spades, so you hope to hit your flush on the river. You call because your 9 of spades removes many flush combos in your opponent's range. But when the 4th spades card fall on the river, I'm not super happy at all. I think in the GTO world it's a call very often anyway, but not in practice. When you think about it, on this run out, there were very few non-flush bluffs he could have. I mean, what can he be bluffing on the turn which doesn't beat our hands on the river? Can he bluff the turn with, I don't know, 10-9 of hearts? Not sure. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap up this video. Maybe I'm gonna continue recording. Let's play one last hand. So once again, please leave comments, leave a like, a follow. This is how I'm gonna see if people like this kind of content. If you do like it, I'm gonna record more. If not, well, I'm gonna talk to myself instead. Okay, this 9-7 suited hand is gonna be a 3-bet. It's mostly a call, but this is going to be our last hand of the day. And let's hope we hit a straight flush, which we don't. Yeah, unfortunately it's gonna mostly be a check on this board. This board is really good for our range, but it's all cards. Well, I mean, our hand is really the bottom of our range. This turn, yeah, let's bet small and hope he's got pair of 8s and folds. Okay, great. Okay, guys, thank you. As I said, please leave a like, leave a follow, leave a comment, say hi, say I like this, I don't like that, I think you play well, I think you play like a dick. Just say what you think, share, and let's discuss together.